Did you feel more pressure the first time that you filled in for Kevin, or the first time you filled in for Gary Cohen doing play-by-play?
No doubt, Gary, because I had never done it before. The Kevin stuff, I felt this pressure just because it was like, okay, you're stepping up to the big leagues, and I don't know if you're like, are you ready for this right now? And and I knew how beloved Kevin was, but I had done it before. I had been a sideline reporter. Again, it was high school, but I had done it. I had been a host before. I like all those things. That's what I had gone to school for, and I had tried to be. I had never done any play-by-play. I think I did one girls lacrosse high school game when I was at MSG varsity, because it was like a last minute. Nobody was there and they needed me to do it, and it was a disaster. But I had actually built up in my mind this wall of, your brain doesn't work this way. This is not, you can't do play-by-play, all because when I was a freshman in college, I went to make one tape and it was like my brain malfunctioned. I would see things and I couldn't say them. And I just, at that moment, and it's really out of character for me. And if I could go back and change one thing in my life, it would be that. But I gave up on it. I was like, you can't do this. You're going to focus on hosting and reporting, and that's your lane. And for years, when I was doing the Mets stuff, Gary and Howie and Kurt Gowdy Jr., who was our executive producer, and Steve Rabb, our president, they would always be like, you want to try it? Like, you should try it. You should try it, just a spring game. Like, try. And I would constantly say, no, that's not me. Like, that's not my thing. And Wayne was doing it, and he was great. And then Wayne left. Wayne Randazzo left to do the Angels. And they started to really turn up the pressure, because they said, this is ridiculous now. You're on the broadcast. The fan base is well acquainted with you. Like, you can do this. Like, just go do it. And I remember I had a lunch, because I was so adamantly against it. And I had a lunch with our president, Steve Rabb, in spring training, where he wanted to hear exactly why I refused to do it. And he basically just looked at me and he said, if you want to know what I'm hearing there, you just sound like you're scared. Like, you're scared of taking a risk. You're scared of taking a chance. And I remember I just looked at him and I said, you're right. I think you're right. All right, I'll do it. And we made this deal where I would do one spring training game. And if I got through that okay and felt like I had been, decent enough, or I could move forward and get better at it, that the next year I would do like 10 spring games, see how I did. And then if I did okay, I'd fill in for Gary during the regular season. And so I did the one game, and I had flown down for a day to do it. I get in my car, I'm driving back to the airport in West Palm, and I get a call from our producer, and he's like, how'd you feel? I said, I mean, I got through it. I thought, I did it. It was scary, but he goes, yeah, you're Gary's backup this year. And I said, you know what? I'm just not going to say no to these things anymore. All right, I'll do it. And so I did it, and I could not have been more nervous. Howie Rose, I still to this day, I have it. Howie Rose about a half an hour before the first game I did in Cincinnati. We had gone he took me out to dinner the night before to just take my mind off of it. But he comes into the booth and he hands me Depends. He had signed it. And he was like, hey, just in case. And I still have it. But that's Howie. And so, I was terrible. I was terrible the first, and I'm slowly but surely getting it, but I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I'm doing it. And I think it's anybody that's listening, it's a lesson. Like, don't put walls, don't make walls up for yourself. Like, you can do anything you put your mind to. And I think that it's, in a large part, it's having listened to thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of Gary Cohen in my ear over the last decade. But, you pick up the rhythm of it, and each game you get a little bit better. And Gary watches Like what an amazing gift that Gary, on his time off, and he takes such little time off, he watches every single second of every out. And then he calls me up and he's like, all right, you want some feedback? And it's kind of like this ladder where he, there was one time I remember in spring training, called me up. He goes, here's my challenge for you tomorrow. Never use the word count. Try and go the entire game without using the word count, because I was getting into this pattern of like, all right, strike one, and the count's 0-1. Ball one, the count's 1-1. And I would say that after every, and so I went the next day and I did that. And then I was like, okay, good. You got that. Much better. Now do this. Now do that. Now do this. And so, yeah, I mean, it's all long-winded, but I was much more nervous to do that. And now I'm like obsessed with the challenge of it. Now I'm like watching all these other games and I'm picking out, okay, this I like, this is more me. Like, Gary and I have a different style. So, okay, take this, but don't try and do Gary's broadcast totally. Do some things from here and some things from there. And it's been a really cool challenge at this stage of my career.
It is crazy because usually, like in this industry, as people are building on their careers, they just they scoop up every single opportunity that comes their way. So to hear that for years you were kind of like saying no, I have no interest in like this incredible opportunity, and I think it was Gary Apple did it first after Kevin left, right?
Yes,
then
Gary did it first, then they went to Wayne, and then when Wayne left, they went to me. And you're right, that definitely makes me unique. Most people just say, yes. And I think our president was right. There was a fear for sure of you are going to buy, like, boom goes the dynamite level disaster, because the only reference point I had was literally seizing up as an 18-year-old, not being able to speak English. And so if that happened in New York, but the other element of it, and I mean this genuinely, is I was like, what hubris to expect that I could just step in and do something that people work decades and put thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of hours into crafting. Like that's crazy. Like you don't deserve that. And what turned me was not just our president speaking that way, but when I would bring that up to Gary and Howie, they're like, yeah, you have put in the time. Like you've been on this broadcast every single game. You'll do these reports and you'll call the plays in the middle of it. Like you have a bond with the fan base that just do it. Like just push yourself. Stop putting it on such a pedestal where, you have to go to the minors for 10 years in order to be worthy of giving it a shot. And so I did, and everybody has a different path and a different way to get into this. But yeah, I was definitely unique because you talk to 99% of broadcasters. You're right. And it's like, yeah, 100%. Like I'll do it. I've never watched a hockey game in my life. Want me to do play-by-play for hockey? Sure. Yeah. Like that's how people think.
Yeah. And I think it's that bond that you have with the fans that really is helpful, because obviously you're not Gary, but when you're in the booth, it sounds familiar. So it's not just putting somebody new in there. So I think the fans just naturally kind of gravitate to that, the fact that it sounds and feels familiar. How are Ron and Keith when you're filling in? Because obviously you talk about the fact that early on when you were filling in for Kevin and replacing Kevin, like they were not necessarily engaging just for the sake of engaging. How are they now when you're filling in for Gary?
Awesome. The best. Our stage manager, who, if you're a regular watcher of our broadcast, him, Russ Relkin, because he always stands in the back and just, is stoic, and that's his character. But Russ and I actually go way. Russ was my producer when I was at MSG Varsity. And, so we talked through all these things, and my nerves before the first game, I remember him saying to me, these guys, they love you and they want you to succeed in this. So Don't put so much pressure on yourself to carry this whole thing. Like, they want to help you. They want you to do this well. And so I try and lean on them as much as I can. And like I said, even that little thing from Ron, that little note that he dropped, but they are so great to me. They make it so easy. I mean, as easy as it is to learn. Like, I could not do that without them. Again, it's, they're like, I'm almost like their little brother at this point. They just protect me in so many ways. And I've gotten comfortable too, where when you're in it, if there's a moment you're not exactly sure where to go or what to say, if you just lay out for a second, they're going to pick you up. Like, they're just going to do it. So they've been amazing. They've been, as has, again, not to keep harping on, but this is just the thing people don't see. Like, their truck guys they're awesome. In my ear before the game, helping me with information, helping us with the elements. Like, they're just, you're so not on an island. And that's how I thought it would feel. I thought I would be out there by myself trying to tread water, and it's not. Like, they're lifting me. They're lifting me the whole time.